Hello YouTubers, Manny here from Manny's How To Workshop, and today I'm going to be making a video on troubleshooting these two Dewalt portable air compressors. These are the 4.5 gallon model. It's the 200 psi 5.2 SCFM, rated at 90 psi, and it's a 1.8 horsepower. So these are actually pretty good. Brand new, these go for about anywhere between $400 and $450. And my friend, who I've been working with, picked these up for like 45 bucks a piece from a guy who just gave up on them because they wouldn't work. And I finally convinced him to say, hey, let me take a look at them for you, see if I can get them going. And he offered to give me one if I can get his going. So that's what I'm going to do today. Okay, at first glance, on this one here on the right, when I looked at the plug, you can see that the prong here on the right, it looks like there was some kind of overcurrent, because at the bottom of that lug, it's the plastic's all burnt around it, which leads me to believe there was an overcurrent situation, and hopefully the windings on the motor are not shot or shorted to where it needs a new motor. Also, if you can see, it's missing the ground lug in comparison to this one here on the left, which is completely intact, and you can see that the plug is in good shape. So I'm guessing I'm going to have better luck with this one on the left. And what I just noticed too, that this one was labeled number 2, and this one was missing the top panel. I'm assuming this was labeled number 1. So whoever had these was either a carpenter or something, and just, I guess, for labeling purposes. But anyway, I'm going to dig deeper, and hopefully the problem only lies here in the control box, where the on and off switch is, right here. And hopefully the worst case is I just need to replace this cord, this power cord, which according to the owner's manual, I think it was only 14 gauge wire. I mean, the power cord looks thick, but until I take this off here, I won't know the actual gauge of the wire. And power cords I can make pretty simple, because you got to make sure you have the ground, since this is an electrical appliance. Also, I noticed that here's the model number of the compressor, and this one happens to be a Type 3. Just so happens, when I was looking up online on Dewalt's website, when you're trying to look for parts, you actually have to know which type you have. Whereas this one's the same model, but it's a Type 4. As far as the motor rating goes, they are the same. Yep. 120 volt, 60 hertz, 15 amps. So I'm guessing that maybe this one here, instead of having this rating of 200 psi max, working tank pressure, like I said before, 5.2 SCFMs, 1.8 horsepower. Since this was missing the top cover, I won't be able to tell if that's the actual difference between the 3 and the 4. That the Type 4 is actually rated higher. So my next step is to go ahead and start working on this one here, and I might end up having to swap a few parts from this one to this one, make this the good one, give that back to him, and I'll keep this one here. And I can always get a top panel from the website. They're like 32 bucks, and I just need to get also a new little gauge that's missing from right here from this manifold. So I'll just take the gauge from this one, swap it to this one, and hopefully this one will be a good one. I can get it going, give it back to my buddy, and then I'll make this one here my project and hook it up for me. So I went ahead and plugged this one in to a 20 amp branch circuit, which is more than enough for this 15 amp rated motor. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on and see what happens. Alright. Well, there you go. That one there, actually, sounds like it's working good. Like I said, I opened up the, let me go ahead and pick this up for a second. Wow, look at all the water coming in from the tank. Obviously they ran this and never drained it, because look at that. Let me bring this over to the driveway and let it drain right there. Wow, that's nasty. I mean, look at that. Oops. That's discolored water. So I'm gonna have to disconnect everything from the air tank, all the connections, and rinse it out with water a few times, let it dry out in the sun, and then put some kind of like a light oil, probably the same oil that you use for the air tools. Give it like a light oil bath in there. And what you can do sometimes also is actually put in like some small stones and slosh it around. It'll knock off some of the loose rust that's in there. But by this discoloration that I'm seeing here, damn, whoever had these before, obviously, like after each use, never drained them, which is a pet peeve of mine, which I got on the guy that I'm working for about doing his, making sure that he drains them every day, because they build up so much condensation. But so far so good. This one actually works, just needs some TLC, some part swapping, and it'll be good to go. Okay, as I suspected, I'm checking the resistance of the motor windings on the compressor that had the burnt plug, and as you can see, I'm getting fluctuated resistance readings, which means it's unstable, and that definitely that overcurrent situation that happened may have caused motor damage. So I'll have to dig deeper on this one to find it, because you can see that when I move the leads back over to this one, I'm only getting 1.5 to 1.7. Well, this one's jumping too a little bit, but that could be my meter. Alright, there we go. A little more stable. So you can see I'm getting 1.5 ohms across the two flat terminals, and that's pretty common for this kind of motor because of the size of it and what it needs to put out. So, and if I touch the ground right there, see I got out of limits, which means there's no continuity between ground and those, which is good. It means there's no short between those two, the windings. Since these tabs are not polarized, meaning like one tab would be for the hot, one for the neutral. On most plugs, you have a wider tab versus one that is skinnier. usually that means that it's one side is hot, one side is neutral. So on this one's good. As you can see, it's out of limits. No connection between ground on both prongs. So looks like that one is going to be the one that I'm going to make good. Give that one to my buddy, and I'll keep this one to dig deeper into, and hopefully won't have to get too many parts for it. That's going to cost too much, because the motor itself, I think it's like $114, and I think just for the tank, no, yeah, the tank was $114. The motor and compressor and the rest of the parts was like almost 300 and something, so I don't know if it's going to be worth it. So anyway, and my friend bought these so he can use the tanks as like additional storage tanks. But yeah, at least he's going to have a good one to work with. So I'll go ahead and stop it for here for sake of keeping this video short, and I'll make another video on this one when I start tearing it down and actually get to the root of the problem, which more than likely I'm gonna have to replace the power cord there. Hopefully the motor can be cleaned up and it'll work if it's not too burnt up inside, and I'll have to clean up the gauges, because all the gauges, you can see there's condensation inside the gauge right there on that one and on this one. And I believe the remedy for that is just going to be taking the gauges out and taking a heat gun or something like that, and then heating it up little by little to the point where that condensation will go away. Or I'm guessing if there's too much condensation, that means they were draining it a lot and allowed the wet air to go into the gauge. Because in this system here, it's kind of a setup. This gauge is the main one, so that's the first one that gets the air. Then it goes through the regulator, and then it comes out to the output gauge, where you can actually regulate what you need there. So obviously all the condensation was making it here first before it was actually coming into this one. And you can see the quick connectors too, they were a little rusty, so I hit them with some PB Blaster just to kind of clean them up. Now of course I'll clean that up, sand it down, make it good. But like I said, with this one I'm going to go ahead and clean it all up, tear it apart, swap some parts to this one, and get it running for him, and go from there. Thanks for watching. Please comment, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the little bell so you can get some notifications on when I post another video. Thank you, and have a good one, y'all.